into the Word, and then we can talk about that. Okay? Let's oh yeah, we're going to have communion today, Holy Communion. And let me just say this, the world, the secular world doesn't have Holy Communion. Only the Christian does. Right? So we have to understand it's a privilege to have Holy Communion together as a church. The world doesn't even know nothing about Holy Communion because they have no faith there. There's no belief. There's no understanding of what Jesus done in our lives. But as we come together as a church, man, this is it's on. I mean, we're coming together. We're celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So we like Paul would say, examine yourself, get ready to have this Holy Communion together. If there's something that the Lord is dealing with you about right now that you have to ask forgiveness, do it. Because as I said, Paul said that it's a very, very, very serious thing that we're taking today. And so a lot of us time we just taking, no big deal. But I'm telling you one thing right now, it's very serious. And so if there's something God is showing you and put it in your heart, in your mind, to ask forgiveness, do it. All right? And let's go into this word here. I want to show something here real quick because I'm not going to be long. Luke 22:14. Luke 22:14. I want you guys to listen to these verses, and I want you to see if there's something that sticks out that is all. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you three different books, starting with Luke. Luke 22:14. We're dealing with we're going to be taking communion today, all right? But we're going to take this out of the Lord's Supper. Look what it says, verse 14, 22:14. And when the hour was come, he sat down and the 12 apostles with him, verse 15, and he said unto them, which I desire to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. Verse 16, for I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of God. Verse 17, and he took the cup and he gave thanks and said, take this, divide it amongst yourselves. Okay, let's go to Matthew 26. Matthew 26:26. Matthew 26:26. Okay. I want you to look at this one. Matthew 26:26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. Verse 27. And he said, and he took the cup and he gave thanks and he gave it to them, saying, drink you all of it, okay? That's Matthew. Now let's go to Mark. Mark 14. Mark 14, verse 22. And as they did eat, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them and said, take, eat, this is my body. Verse 23. And he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. What do you see in those three different books? Obviously, it's the Lord's Supper, but there's something there I want you to get. Every three of these, three different authors, three different books, Luke, Matthew, and Mark said one thing that Jesus said that sticks out to me. Giving thanks. The topic of this message today is giving thanks. Okay? These three books, all of them, Jesus said was saying he gave thanks. He gave thanks. He gave thanks. Okay? I want to get into this because I believe as the church, as a Christian, we have to acknowledge ourselves. We have to acknowledge that we have to give thanks more than I have been giving. Sometimes we only give thanks for when God shows up on time. If we're on a need, we have a need, and God shows up, and he does, and we thank him for that. But a lot of times and starting with myself, we go day by day, and we don't even thank God for the little things, for just breathing today. You know, he's given us the breath to breathe in and breathe out. See, we forget those little things, but they're not really little things. They're big things. Because without the breath of life, I'm not going to be here. So, our meals that we have every day, and he provides for us. Do I give thanks for that? Sometimes I'm so much in a hurry that I don't, but I'm going to have to slow down. And I'm not talking about a 20-minute thanks. I just acknowledge him. Lord, thank you for my hot dog today and my fries and my food. Thank you for being my provider. He said he gave thanks. Jesus said he gave thanks. He gave thanks. Now, I'm going to give you one. There's a lot of stories, but I'm hurrying up, of people in the Bible that's given thanks. Look at it, Daniel chapter 2, verse 23. Daniel, the dreamer, he was a revelator. He revealed dreams. God revealed dreams to him. In verse 23, look what it says here, 2:23, he says, I thank you and praise you, O thou God of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, which was power, and he has made known unto me now what we desire of you, for you have now made known unto us the king's matter. In other words, he's thanking him in response to answered prayers. Now, we all get excited when God answers our prayers, right? That's great. That's great. That's what we should do. But what happens when things don't go well? And we all can relate to this. Every one of us can relate when things don't go well. What do I do? How do I deal with this? And so I'm going to stay in this book of Daniel because look, Daniel's all excited that God gave him the revelation and of a dream to share, and he's thanking God, everything. But down a couple books over, a couple chapters over, in chapter 6. Look what happens. We'll start with verse 10. Chapter 6, Daniel, verse 10. Daniel faced a situation a little while later in his life. It happened during the reign of another king, when Daniel had to face a royal decree that everyone should only pray to the king and no one else. In other words, long story short, there's a decree that the king signed and said, okay, you're only going to serve, you're only going to pray to me. See? And so Daniel had to make a choice. Just like you all have to make a choice. Every day we have to make a choice. Am I going to compromise? Am I going to go the way of the world? Or am I going to go God's way? See, more and more every day we have to make those choices. It might be at your employment. It might be at your job. It might be with your friends. It might be with your girlfriend, boyfriend. It might be with, hanging out with some other people that may be the unbelievers. And you're going to have to make a choice. Am I going to do it this way, or am I going to do it God's way? Okay, every day. This is going to be in our face. But look what happened with Daniel. Now when Daniel knew, verse 10, the writing was signed, he went to his house, and his windows being opened in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime. In other words, there's a decree, he knows a decree, and all of a sudden, everybody's got to follow that rule, that law. Daniel said, no, I'm just going to go pray. That's a good thing. He didn't get mad. He didn't go start kicking the wall and start cussing out everybody out and say, that's wrong because I'm a Christian. He didn't put a big old banner and says, oh, no, and start going crazy and start going up down Main Street. He says, oh, no, 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 unfair, unfair, unfair. He didn't do that. What did he do? He kneeled. He went and kneeled and started. He prayed there not one, but not twice, but 3 times a day. Man, I looked at that. I said, Lord, I need help. So God looked at Daniel and said, man, this guy really loves me. And so Daniel said, no, that ain't going to happen. I'm going to keep reading here. And these men assembled and found Daniel praying. They found Daniel. Hey, look, what's up, man? There's a decree out here, and Daniel's praying and making supplication before his God. So now, he separated himself. He didn't isolate himself, but he separated himself. Some of y'all, sometimes we're going to have to separate ourselves from situations. Not hide in the cave and say, oh, I'm not going out, but separate. Say, I can't hang with that. So Daniel said, and he went out there, and he started praying. He separated himself. And I'm going to keep reading. Then they came near and spoke before the king concerning the king's decree. Have you not signed a decree, he says, that every man who shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. And king answered and said, This thing is true according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which alters not. In other words, yeah, you're right. I signed that. I can't erase it. It's there. It's set in stone. Once he signs it, there's nothing else they can do. So it's already a law. They're saying, look at this guy Daniel. He's still praying to his God. And then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regards not you, O king, nor the decree that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. In other words, Daniel did not compromise. Even though he was going to get thrown in the lion's den, I can continue to read, but you'll see that if you read that. He was actually thrown in the lion's den because for not compromising and doing what that decree, that law said, that you're gonna have to worship me, you have to pray to me, to that king. Daniel said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I thought about that, and I said, man, maybe one of these days this is going to happen to the United States. They're going to tell us what we can do and we can't do. Oh, you can't. That's not going to happen, Pastor. Well, I don't know, man. Things are happening quickly. You're going to have to make a choice. That either you're going to go their way, which is not God's way, even though the government says it, even though that person says it, or you're going to say, no, I'm not going that route. I'm going to have to go this route. You're going to have to stand up, just like Daniel did, and said, for me and my house, I'm going to serve the Lord. That's why we have to get prepared, church. We have to get ready because especially it's coming quickly. That we have to stand up and be sold out for Jesus Christ. We can't be in the middle. That middle stuff doesn't work anymore. He's cutting everything down the middle. He said, you're going to be with me or against me. There's not going to be in the middle, nothing in the middle no more. I'm telling you right now. I see it. I'm talking about Thanksgiving. Daniel gave, even in the lines, that he was still giving thanks to God. He was still, his mind was still on his Savior, on his God. And you can read on and on about this, but he did not give up. God delivered him from that lion's den. So some of you all might be going through a lion's den right now. You feel like you're in the middle of this den with a bunch of lions, so to speak, spiritually. But let me tell you something. God is a deliverer. God will help you get through this. You have to continue to look to him. See, those lions were all around him, but he wasn't looking at those lions. If you look at a picture of Daniel in the lion's den, he wasn't looking at, oh, look at this lion, look at that lion. No, he wasn't paying attention. His focus wasn't on that storm, on those lions. His focus was in God. And that's what the enemy wants us to do. He wants to put the focus on our lions, so to speak, our spiritual lions, and not focus on our God. He gave thanks. He kneeled and gave thanks, and he was doing that 3 times a day. He prayed. Let me continue. The topic is giving thanks for everything. Look at 1 Thessalonians 5:16. 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Look at this. Rejoice evermore, period. Real small, real quick. Small sentence, but it says a lot. Verse 17, pray without ceasing. And look what it says in verse 18. In some things. Only on Sunday. Only when things are going good. No, it's not what that says. It said, in everything, give thanks. For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. Let me share something with you. The greatest feeling in the world is that you're in the will of God, God's will. When you're you know that you're in God's will, you're going to sleep good at night. It doesn't mean you're not going to be in the storm. Because you will be in storms, I guarantee you. But if you know you're in God's will, there's peace. That's what the world is looking for today. The world is looking for peace. That's what they're looking for. They look for it through money, through sex, through merchandise, through anything that the world has to offer. They're trying to find the peace. That's the bottom line. They don't understand this. They don't understand that what they're trying to find or that what they're in need of. They're in void. The void is deep, and they're trying to find this peace by many different things out there, and that doesn't to no avail. I was there. I tried to find peace in many different ways because that's what everybody else was doing. Because I see everybody else doing that, and try this and do that, and you'll feel better, and you deserve this, and it's for you, and you work hard, and you deserve this, and this, oh man, you got to get this. And so everybody says it, and you're hearing this, and then you begin to believe it. And then you do it, and you go after it, and it doesn't fix the void that you have in your heart. That's why there's the drug epidemic, the alcohol epidemic. It doesn't stop. It gets worse. It gets wider. It gets more. There's more. It doesn't stop. I got to tell the truth because I deal with this every day, and I have to tell. I have to tell it straight up because if I don't, it's like you have something that will fix you. Drink this; it'll fix you. If I had that and it would work, and me saying, "No, it's all for me," I'm not going to share nothing. I want to have it for me because this is all for me. That would be selfish. No, I got something that is much greater than that the world don't even understand. Sometimes they begin to think that this life is worthless. In everything, give thanks. That convicted me. Because sometimes when I go through stuff, I'm not giving thanks. Then he gets me through that situation, and I'm giving him thanks. But I'm not going to give him thanks for the hurt and pain because why should I? But you know what? Paul did. Paul the apostle did. He got beat, shipwrecked, stoned, left for dead, and he was just praising God. He was in prison. He wasn't mad. He wasn't upset. He wasn't saying, well, what? I don't deserve this. I'm the man of God. I'm gonna write 13 books of the Bible here. What? Why did God do this to me? Giving thanks. Philippians chapter 4. I'm going quickly. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. It says, be careful for nothing. In other words, don't be anxious for anything. Man, does that says a lot right there. Don't be anxious. The enemy wants to get you anxious. When you're anxious, you start thinking, you're not thinking right. You begin to react to different things. You begin to see different things. You get all anxious, man. And you all know what I'm talking about. And that's what he wants you to become, anxious. But he says, no. Be careful for nothing. Don't be anxious. But in everything by prayer and supplication, with what? With thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known unto God with thanksgiving. Look what this right here, number 7. And the peace of God which passes all understanding. That's where you got to get, church. That's where we have to get. We have to get to this peace of God that passes all understanding. People, you're going through a storm, and people are saying, look at this dude, look at this person. They're going through so much, but they have peace. Money can't buy peace. I don't care how much money you have. You cannot buy the peace of God that passes all understanding. That's what the world needs. When you see the world hurting and lost, and they feel like dying, and they feel like committing suicide, and the enemy tells them, don't live no more. You're worthless. This life is not worth living no more. Quit. You might as well kill yourself. That's what the enemy tells them, And they believe it. But God said, no, I'm going to give you this peace that passes all understanding. He might not take the junk away because it's going to be still there, but he's going to get you through that thing with peace. That's what you have to understand. The peace of God that passes all understanding. You can't understand it. You can't comprehend why. But you can't. There's something. They look at you. Don't you see what you're going through? Don't you see? And you say, yeah. And you just go even keel. You're nice and smooth. You're not going all anxious. You're not get all depressed. You're not thinking all ugly. You got that even keel look, man. You're just going at it, and you're just like it's like you're this peace of God just covers you from the top of your head to the sole of your feet, like He's got it all together for you. He's going to take care of you. And that's where He wants to get you and me. It shall keep your hearts and minds. Your mind, your heart, because that's what the enemy hits, is the mind. He takes the mind, and if he can take your mind, he'll take your heart. It's deep, man. This is something that you have to understand how the enemy plays. So, but he says this peace of God, this peace comes totally from God, which passes all understanding, shall keep you your hearts and minds what? Through Jesus Christ. That's the only way. Through Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, what He has done at Calvary's for us. That's it. There's no other way. I'm going to close with Mark 14:23. We got to get communion coming. We got communion here. Mark 14:23, but I want to start with 22. And as they did eat, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them, and said, take, eat, and this is my body. Verse 23, and he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. Jesus lived a life of constant thanksgiving to his Lord. Constant. Even though he was facing Calvary with all its darkness. We don't even know how dark that was. And I'm not just talking about being dark. I'm talking about dark that we don't even understand spiritually. That's what he took. He took the sin of the world. So he with Calvary, with all his darkness, still he was thanking the Lord that he had the privilege to do this for humanity. He was thanking his Lord. He had the privilege to do it for humanity. Think of that. He was thanking his God. He was thanking his Father. He was thanking for the privilege that he was going to do this for humanity, even though humanity loved him not. He knew that there was going to be many people that was going to turn him away. He knew that he was going to die for the sin of the world, but there was going to be many, many, many that would say no. He knew that, but he still did it. He knew. So I want you to remember that when something doesn't happen your way, the way you think it's going to work for you, God still has a plan. God still has a plan. Just because it wasn't your plan doesn't mean it's not going to be the plan. God still has a plan for me and you. Sometimes I sit down and I say, Lord, what do you got set up here? What's going on? Show me a little bit of something. Of course he doesn't. He doesn't show me because he knows that I'll probably mess it up anyway. But I say, Lord, what do you have going on for me? Lord, what's going on? And I ask him these questions, and sometimes he just gives me a little glimpse, but usually he don't give me anything. Because we got to walk by faith, not by sight. That's this whole book. This whole book is by faith, man. This whole book is by faith. That's where the fight comes. This whole book is by faith. If it would tell you your life story, you wouldn't need this. But all this comes by faith. That's when it gets tough. That's when we fight. That's why we have questions. And we try to do it our own self. And we say, we don't need this. I do it myself. I'm talking to me first. Because I got to go through the same stuff that you do. Maybe even more. But what I'm learning is, he said, give thanks. What does that mean? Show me, Lord, what all that means to give thanks. And he's beginning to show me just a little bit. Because some of us are going to go through things that we don't even know yet. We're going to go through things in our lives that we don't even know and will not understand. Hear me, what I'm saying. I'm saying this for a reason. That you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know what's going to happen this week, next week, or a month from now, a year from now. But I got to give him thanks, not because of the storms, but because I know that he got my life, man. He's got my back. I got to have this faith that he is going to take care of me because I'm in his will. Jesus was totally in God's will. Totally. Totally, Jesus was in his will. And so that's what I'm going to close with that. I want you to understand his thanksgiving was centered in the will of God. I'm talking about Jesus. So are we praying? Lord, am I praying? Lord, I want your will. I don't know if we're asking that. And we're praying that. I said, Lord, see, we have people just running to and fro. And we don't really understand. We're not asking. He wants us to ask him, Lord, your will be done. Lord, I want your will. It's like, okay, now I can do something because you give me opportunity and permission to do this. He will not make us and force us to do his will. We got to freely come to him and to do his will. That's it. I know this is easy but I want you to understand what I'm saying. Thanksgiving. Am I walking around grumbling and murmuring and complaining? Number one. Or am I saying, Lord, your will be done? Lord, I'm going through some pain today, but Lord, your will be done. Thank you for giving me this day today. Because there are many people that complain and focus on the bad. And they're always walking around with a cloud. Always walking around with a cloud. Always walking around with a cloud. And God's trying to do something in their lives, and it is doing something in their lives, but they don't see it. We always look at the clouds. We always look at the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad. And God's already starting to open up this for you, and you don't see that. We miss it. We miss those things that God is trying to do for us. And sometimes I do. Because I look at sometimes the stuff that's going on, and I have to stop myself and say, wait a minute. No, I got to look at it this way. It's, Lord, you're going to have to show me and help me to look at these things in a different way. And I tell you what, you're going to have that peace of God that passes all understanding. That's where the peace of God that passes all understanding. So you got to have this in your mind, and your heart is said through Jesus Christ. Amen? I'm going to close with that. We're going to have communion. Praise God.